evening.
How are you?
We are wonderful.
We're gonna
It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much.
I just want everyone to know that, I met Megan several years ago, right? And,
Yes.
She was bubbly and came to a networking group that I was in and just bubbly and all this kind of, juicy stuff and was just as happy as a lark. And I guess, I don't know, one day we got to talking and, she told me about Barton, her husband. And ever since ever since meeting them, my life has just changed. And I'm such a supporter of everything that you do and everything that you stand for. So I want to welcome you. And they've just launched their new book, which, I love helping people promote their books, but especially this one. And, they stand for love. And Barton with cerebral palsy and Megan, it's just an amazing story. So, and I want to say, when I started reading the book, and I was it's fabulous, actually. And I'm amazed. It's so funny and it's so intimate and it's so real, and anybody and everybody is going to want to read this book. And it's a fast read, but I want to say that when I was reading it and I was reading the foreword, I really was amazed at how well written the foreword was, and then the whole book is so well written. And this is a mentor trainer of Barton's, because Barton is a black belt, and the final words in this foreword was, "Live free, my beautiful friends, live free," and it just choked me up. So, welcome. Thank
you so much.
So, tell our listeners just a tidbit of how you began and where you began.
Go.
Well, I was living in Alabama at the time, and Barton was in Tucson, Arizona. Both of us train in martial arts. So I had traveled to Arizona for an informal training seminar. And while I was there, I was at one of my friends' houses. It was February 15th, so right after Valentine's Day. And there was this commotion. Everybody was going, Barton's coming. And I didn't know who Barton was. So he came, and the first thought I had was, how can Barton train in a wheelchair? And later I learned that.
Yes, you did.
But we only had enough time to say hello, goodbye. And then later, a few months later, I came back and we had a chance to talk to each other, and we realized we both loved poetry. We both trained in martial arts. We had similar family experiences, and our relationship grew from there.
Personally, I was pretty smitten the moment that I went lead, although at the time I did not think much of it. It wasn't until we met again 3 or 4 months later that I really began to realize that it was a bit more than just lust.
So it wasn't until 3 or 4 weeks later, what? Or 3 or 4
It took a while for Barton to realize that it wasn't just, lust or that intense feeling.
We had the chance to work together, and I began talking about writing and what I was telling her. And she told me that she was also a writer. So I got all excited when that happened.
Because of the time difference,
So
I would
okay,
wake up and there would be an email with a
Right.
poem waiting for me.
right, and you would write poetry back and forth to each other.
Yes. Yeah.
So
We
did you so when you met Barton, I know that you told the story that you might not have been all that welcoming and that nice, but then after you realized things shifted for you,
Yes.
right? Can you explain that?
Yes. And actually, one of the trips to Tucson, we were in the kitchen cleaning dishes after a large seminar, and I was being very patronizing, kind of in a very high Southern Alabama voice, you know, and one of my friends called me out on it, and she said, do you have a problem with Barton? You know, look, he's a man, he's trained, he's done everything any other guy out there can do. You know, don't patronize him. And it was like in that moment, that veil of assumptions fell down for me. And, you know, I think ever since then, you know, we see each other as, you know, wife and husband or male and female. We're able to see each other in those roles. And you know, I try not to be so patronizing and doing everything for Barton.
And if she is, then I tell her to back off or
I bet you do. So I just want to remind everybody out there that we are taking phone calls, we're taking questions, we're taking comments, everything. So just give us a call at 919-518-9773. If you have a question for Megan and Barton, feel free to call. You know, we'd love to have your input. So in the early days, I mean, you were just passionately in love. You saw each other. You wrote poetry back and forth.
we still are.
Yeah. I love you too. I swear I do. I just do. It's just, I mean, I have so many questions. So, but initially your families were not totally on board, but we'll get to that. Megan, so the veil came off. What was it about Barton that you saw that made a difference when you stopped patronizing? What did you see in this man?
Barton, well, first of all, his humor. Our humor is throughout the book. You can see it on his face. It just comes across, and it's very contagious. So there's that. There's obviously Barton's personality and his humor just brightens the room. And I've seen him really want to step up and take on higher roles of responsibility of being a husband who wants to take care of his family. And,
like what? What are those higher roles, Barton?
So I've seen a whole lot of men who, for one reason or another, choose the easy road, whether that's not getting married or getting married and then walking away because it's too hard.
And I would also say, okay.
Can you explain a little bit of that?
Yes. So, Barton's talking about, for some men, it's easy to walk away or to not get married or to leave just because it's easier.
But as a man, I feel that my role is not only to protect and provide for my family, but also to open the space for my family to grow into their full potential.
So his role of a man is to, not just to protect you, but open up the space
for our family to grow.
I got it.
To allow Megan to grow into her full potential.
And to allow for me to grow into my fullest potential.
So I know in the book you talk about the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
So for most couples, I mean, it's maybe somebody's stronger in one than in another. But there's some kind of a balance. So you find your balance.
Yeah.
So beautiful. I mean, how do I put it? You have identified a whole new way of looking at balance.
Yeah.
Right? Let me just say, Chris on the chat says, I am in awe of you both and the love you have for each other. It's so evident in the way you talk about and with each other. And how you look at each other. Your love is truly beautiful. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Thank you. I think it's when we're together that people see that love shine through. It really is when we're both together. We might be walking out in the street, but somebody sees that, and it really shatters everybody's expectations. It's one of the greatest privileges, I think, of being in our relationship. Yeah.
Well, I am all about breaking walls.
Yeah.
And stigmas, and I have to say, and then I want to go to that people are commenting on the chat. I have to tell everyone out there one of the most extraordinary experiences I ever had, and I could cry about it really, was that Barton and Megan and I and my husband met for dinner. Right, we went for sushi, I think, and we live in North Raleigh, and there's a major road right near where the restaurant was, Six Forks, and coming on Six Forks, right up Six Forks was Barton in his wheelchair with Megan sitting on his lap. And that's how they went home. And I'll tell you something. It's a beautiful thing to be a part of something that could be so frightening from an outsider. To be able to see it in such a new light. It takes all the fear away from what I can't even imagine. And Ronnie on our chat says, the book is inspiring to me as a guy in a wheelchair. It tells me that love conquers all, no matter wheelchair or not. And then Connie, hey there, please tell Megan and Barton that I remember when in coaching class in DC together. So, yeah, they were wonderful then and now even more. That's from Connie. And Chris says, how long have you been married?
We've been married for 8 years.
8 years.
We got married in November of 2004.
Our wedding was a beautiful ceremony. None of our family knew that Barton was determined to walk me out of the church after we had said our vows, and there's a special walker that he had, and our friends had built a ramp from the altar down. And after the ceremony was over, we turned around and walked down the ramp and out of the church, and it was just a beautiful moment to be able to share with our family and friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it must have really been something. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can't even imagine.
I remember a couple of my family members asking why it was so important that I stand and walk for the ceremony. And to be honest, it really had nothing to do with the physical aspect of the function. I chose to stand because for me, it was a line in the sand by standing up physically. I was making a declaration that I was there to stand for my life despite whatever came of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I missed some of that. So
Barton's standing, in some ways, it didn't have anything to do with the physical aspect. It had to do with creating a line in the sand and making a declaration that he was going to take care of his family no matter what was happening.
And by demonstrating that even then I was breaking down every barrier that was set before me. Mm-hmm. I was probably
you always do.
Yeah.
You always do.
Yeah. And I was making a vow to carry that forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that was part of the vow of carrying that forward. Yeah.
Yeah, and you always do. Both of you always do. Mm-hmm. You know, when I was reading the... Go ahead, what were you going to say?
Thank you. It's many people, I think, automatically see the ways that I might take care of Barton, but they don't necessarily see the ways that Barton takes care of me. And there is so many ways, physically and non-physically, that Barton really does take care of me. And it might be I've had a bad day, so he goes and picks up dinner, or it's giving me a shoulder rub, or there's a number of different ways. But for us, it's so important that there's that acknowledgement kind of going both ways.
I'm so glad you said that because, when I wrote up my tweets and things to put on Facebook, I put caretaker. Mm-hmm. And then today when I was reading, and I happened to come across a portion of a chapter where you said you're not his caretaker. Mm-hmm. And I went, holy, you know what? I put that there. And, it's so interesting to me because we all go about our daily thing, believing a certain way, living a certain way. And when something comes along that strikes a chord of truth, you can't deny it for a second. whether it's just watching the two of you be so, so in love and watching it that, it's hard why you wouldn't. And then when I read that about the caretaker, and I thought, I felt wrong in the moment for putting it but then I didn't know any better. But now we get to talk about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that happens a lot. And in my opinion, that moment of realization that you had is the most beautiful moment possible for a human being.
Mm-hmm. So what Barton just said is, that moment of realization is just one of the most important and vital aspects of being a human being. Mm-hmm.
That moment where you have this epiphany that shifts your entire being.
Mm-hmm. And I don't even think it's a matter of being wrong, because it's just one perspective, and all we're doing is opening the door up to a different perspective.
Well, you're really expanding the perspective.
Yeah.
I have to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have a perspective about love, about relationship, about couples. You're just expanding it in such a way that the world will never, thank God, will never be the same again. Looking at any disability or, relationship in any way, shape, or form. But I do want to go back to a couple of things on the chat. And first of all, I want to thank Ron Guy, for writing that about the wheelchair and about the hope, because that is so important, that everybody out here in this world can feel hopeful. So I really appreciate for you bringing that up. And then Carrie, who's on our chat, Carrie also has a show on Nissan. She's our family psychic medium on Sunday nights. She says she has tears flowing down her cheeks and watching and listening to the most beautiful and inspiring couple. They are soulmates, and they truly bring the meaning of love.
Mm-hmm.
And this love is endless, is what she said. And then Karen Carlton, she says they are just this awesome every single day. And I say, yay, Karen, because I know they are. I know they are. So I know that your families weren't all that enamored with this relationship, and you really had to go through a lot of emotion yourselves. Anger, all kinds of things to go forward, right?
Right.
You want to share that?
I think the most beautiful part has been to watch our families grow, our relationship. We have to step back for a little bit. We did things opposite. Most people invite their boyfriends or girlfriends to meet the parents, and then they get engaged. And we did the opposite. We got engaged, and it was Thanksgiving Day. We called all of our family members, and their first question was, to who? And so none of our family members parents had met the other one of us.
Well, even more than that, none of them knew about the other one of us.
Yeah.
Except for maybe knowing of an acquaintance.
An acquaintance or a friend. That was the language that we used. So after I told specifically after I told my father, Barton and I were engaged, I thought, I was in Tucson and I traveled back home and a couple of days passed and I didn't hear from them. And I thought, oh, well, I wonder what's going on. I should have heard from them by now. And I realized that my dad didn't know what to say to other family members. How do you say your daughter's engaged to someone and you don't even know who it is? So in some ways, it wasn't just about Barton being in a wheelchair, but it was like, who is this guy who is now going to be marrying my daughter?
Right, and you had just had a heartbreaking situation with an engagement, right?
Mm-hmm. I had been engaged before, and I had the dress, I had a date, and this relationship ended. Now I am so thankful.
I'm thankful that the other guy was not that.
And so my dad, my family certainly had concerns about making sure this was a right person for me. And there were questions about my being in a caretaking role and what that would be like from my family, many members of my family. Mm-hmm. And Barton's family had concerns as well. So.
Well, I think my family had a different set of issues. I don't want to make an over-generalization here, but within the culture of disability, there is a belief that government benefits are the be all and end all to one's existence.
Yeah, that just blows my mind, actually.
Yeah. I.e., if you are not on benefits, there's no way to survive. I don't believe that. While benefits are very important for a whole lot of people, in my case, I found them to be very, very limiting. So my parents were very afraid that if I got married, I would lose my benefits. In my mind, I was happy about that because it would put me in a position where I would be forced to grow beyond where I had been previously.
Yeah.
So you're saying that the benefits were limiting, so you didn't care about losing them.
Right.
But, yeah.
But so did you lose the benefits?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really. But honestly, though, even though they were limiting, it's really a you know what. To lose benefits because to be penalized for being in love. I mean, that to me just sucks a big one.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's a difficult situation. We know very close friends who survive on benefits, and it actually creates a more independent situation for them. In our case, or in Barton's case, I think it was the opposite, where it was very limiting. So we just had to allow them to go away and to grow.
I find that personally I do best when I am in a position where I either have to sink or swim.
And the funny part about that is because Barton works best, jumping out and seeing what happens and flying out there in the wind. By default, the same thing happens to me.
Right.
She doesn't enjoy that as much.
Well, she wasn't used to doing that, but, from what I read in your book and what I know about you personally, you've grown into that a great deal. I mean, you've accessed your freedom a great deal. I mean, you weren't like that as a, young woman, young child, but you are now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right? So I go back to something that I thought was just, there's so many things in this book that you want to write down and quote. But it was when you were doing some training, and you were training together, right? And Megan, you had a difficult time really initially training with Barton because I guess you didn't want to hurt him. You were afraid to apply too much force. But Barton, in your way of beingness, you said, first of all, I'm a black belt. I can take care of myself. Secondly, if you pull your punches with me, is that empowering me to grow into a better human being, or is it patronizing me to maintain the status quo and not improve? If it's the latter, how does that serve humanity? Yeah. So you felt like you needed to, she needed to play her role like she would with anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And not play small.
Yeah.
And this book demonstrates that because we're so open, and there are places where we both had to be very vulnerable and go to very, very deep places. But we knew that we had to go there because of the change in the world that we hope to make and the people that we hope to reach.
And what is that change? And what is that hope?
You want to go for it?
Yeah, answer it.
It's funny when we both talk at the same time.
It's funny when most of us talk at the same time.
Yeah. It's about overcoming challenges. So many times we limit ourselves, and it's not even just about being in a system that's limiting. It's how we stay in a small box. And the change that I hope we create is helping others, see those boxes and start taking the walls down.
And I would add that the passage that you just read it epitomizes that, because that fear of playing small, or that fear of just not wanting to do something that might cause harm, is almost more of a disservice to that individual that is to the rest of the world. So if I can, or if we can empower one person to move beyond that fear just for a moment, then it begins to open a window within themselves for them to recognize what truth and real love are and what compassion is.
Well, I think it's the people with the judgments. You know, I mean, if you can change a judgment at a time, that opens up to love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, somebody's already loving, you know, love more, but you change somebody with a judgment, you know, that's huge. And so let me go here and say, Ronnie says, Barton and Meg, thank you for reminding us that love is love no matter the challenges, which speaks for itself, right? Because, you know, who could tell, you know, Chris and I had this conversation, we were talking about you earlier, who can tell somebody who they should love? I mean, we talk about, you know, gays, you know, gay men, gay women, who should tell anybody who they should love? Black, white, Hispanic, white, I mean, who? Nobody. Right? And then Rachel Ann says, I hope soon we will be watching you two on the Today Show. Your love is so inspiring. That is really what is so amazing. Not that Barton is in a wheelchair, but that your love conquers all and is all that matters. The way you all look at each other, it is just magical. So, okay, so I want, because we're going to be out of time and I could go on and on and on with you. Talk about intimacy. Give us your intimate story. Doing it in the chair.
It's fun.
It's funny, I know. That's why I'm just wide open, just like you are. I mean, you're giving me permission to be wide open, so go ahead.
Yeah. I go for it now.
Good.
Well, one of the chapters is called Wheelchairs Aren't Made for Sex. And we decided that I had to be the one to write it. And we did it. I did it very tongue-in-cheek. There are a lot of funny things that happen in our wheelchair. We are intimate. We do have intimate lives, and you know we do want to have children. So we talk about our journey to have children and some of the struggles within that.
What? Is he telling you to answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to get to kids too.
I'm a very happy woman.
You're a very happy woman.
Yeah.
You're very fulfilled sexually.
Satisfied sexually, yes.
Perfect. Okay, so let's talk about children.
Okay,
what?
I have to go there since we get why are males superior lovers?
Oh, Barton's telling his joke. Why are guys with CP superior lovers?
Why?
First of all,
because why?
We're always stiff.
I hope. Okay, let's repeat that for everybody out there again. Megan, though you say it. Because, well, we'll do it together. Because always stiff. Fantastic. I have to say, though, I mean, before we get into the talking about the children, several years ago, Megan and Barton wrote a story in my newsletter called The Talking Stick. And I remember talking to you on the phone, and we were just chatting, Barton, and I said something like, well, I could do anything I want to do short of being 6 foot tall. And Barton turned around to me and he said, What makes you think you're not? We'll never forget that. Barton, seriously, you're profound in just your whole beingness, and Megan too. Okay, so now tell me about children.
We're on the process to adoption. Now that the book has come out, we do hope to move forward finally with adoption. I think it's been a very difficult journey. Many people assume that it's because Barton has cerebral palsy that we can't have children, which isn't true. But we did find out that there is infertility, and we went through all the different possibilities. Do we do sperm donation? Do we adopt? Do we, look at advanced medical technologies? What is the best route? It was a very long and difficult journey.
For a long time, because I was so hurt when I found out that we couldn't have children, I pretty much shut down entirely and denied all of those dreams that we had, all those dreams that I had while I was children. So it caused a lot of pain for both of us.
Yeah.
It's taken many years for the two of us to come back together and find that dream again and find each other in the dream.
Yeah. Each one of us held that dream at different points along the way. I think now we're just at that place of moving forward together, and it's just a matter now of what are the missing pieces, and how can we fulfill or fill those missing pieces to move forward.
Well, I know that you will be fantastic parents, and something again, Megan. I mean, you've said things to me through the years that I just were so profound. It's not just the concepts are profound. And you said to me one day, it takes a village to raise children, and you would reach out to friends to do some things that would be, maybe it was playing ball, certain things like that. But I mean, it was so true. Why shouldn't it take a village?
Yeah.
I mean, you're living a way that the world should look upon everything.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Go ahead.
For me, period, it was recognizing who we can count on for what. I think I had some unrealistic expectations of some of the support systems that we had at that time. And now I did a lot of work of meeting people in the community, and both of us figuring out what we want and who those communities are. And now we're able to step into a community, really be supported and feel supported, and also support that community
but
too.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah,
that's
way
yes.
love.
Yeah, that's the way it should be for anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, all of us should be exactly the way you are.
Yeah.
And the other important aspect to recognize is your relationship to one part of the community is different from your relationship to a different part of the community.
Yeah. So looking at the different the different places where those relationships flow and work within the community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I said, and that's how it should be. I want to read what Carrie wrote. She said, that was priceless. I think a stiff thing, but maybe more. We don't know. I will never, ever forget this couple. They show me that no matter what happens in life, love is forever. Thank you, Megan and Barton. You are and will always be my inspiration. I can only hope to meet both of you one day. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I want to remind people out there we've just got a few more minutes left. Time flies. So 919, take advantage of this. Give us a call, 919-518-9773. If you have a question, you've had an experience, you want to share, you want to ask about your love life. I mean, anything. I mean, we can certainly talk about love, I think. So give us a call, 919-518-9773. So reaching out to a community, feeling that connection and not feeling alone, you've lived, you are exemplify how it should be. And you're going to, I want to be there watching you parent. What is the thing you want to teach your children, Barton?
Would you like that again?
What is it you want to teach your children?
I want to teach them how to love and how to live, to enjoy life to the fullest and never accept anyone's opinion, but to follow your own heart, your calling above all else.
Okay, I missed the big. What was that?
To follow your heart and your calling above all else.
To follow your heart and your calling above all else.
So that's what you want to teach your children.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I love it. Yeah. And you, Megan?
Wow. I would love to teach my children to grow into this world believing in themselves and believing in their voice and finding their own path in where they have a chance to make a difference and as Barton said, to find their calling and to find who they are and to really come into and embody and be empowered in that.
To find the living
path
that was chosen for them.
Yes.
Can you imagine? I mean, that's just an amazing thing to imagine. I think the two of you are doing that.
Thank you.
Wouldn't you say so?
We don't always do it right. We do a lot of things wrong.
What are you talking about? How do you define right? I mean, that's not even. What do you mean?
I think we experiment and see what's working and what's not working.
But that's right.
I would say the parts where we've fallen down is when we've cut off from each other.
Right.
And from a higher God.
And from a higher power, whether you call that God or spirit, but those times off.
But listen, if you say that, I mean, I'm going to get angry with you. But listen, that's when we all run into troubles when we disconnect.
We do. We do.
But it's part of our growing into love and understanding love and the power, understanding the power of love. Is understanding when we disconnect.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
To how to find the love and what that love does when we find it and we're not disconnected.
Yes, very true.
So there's nothing wrong. It's just it's part of it. I mean,
it's part of it. It's part of figuring it out.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise we certainly wouldn't be laughing as much.
Yes.
Ron says, "What advice would you give disabled people who desire relationships with able-bodied people?"
um, um, I'm gonna apologize for this disaster because it might piss you off when you.
Barton's going to apologize before he says his comment.
Okay.
Get over the disability.
Yeah. So get over the disability.
Don't deny who you are, but don't define yourself by the disability.
So don't define yourself by the disability. And I think, can I speak deeper even?
Go with it.
I think it's about how we find relationships. So whether it's with a disability or without, doesn't really matter. I was in a relationship that I thought was perfect. I thought was the perfect guy. And wow, was I wrong. So it's about how you find relationships. And we found it by having a mutual activity that we love, martial arts and writing. So, what is that for you? And where can you meet people who have those same types of values that you do?
Right. And you were, and Barton, you yourself, you see yourself, as you're not letting the disability stand in your way on any level, shape, or form. And you do not see it. I mean, whether it was, I have to say, when Barton was romancing Megan, you set candles all out in the room and you made it romantic, and everything you did. I mean, I had to remind myself, and I had to think, well, how did he get that? How did he do that? Where did he go for that? Because everything he did was not of my stereotype of somebody with cerebral palsy or in a wheelchair or any kind of disability. So you never see that. And that's, I think, what you're saying is don't look at it. Be fearless, be 6 feet tall.
Right. Yes. And we all have those places where we think limit ourselves. I lost my mom and for years was afraid to sleep, or I still am afraid to take medicine. I don't like doctors, that kind of thing. So whether we have a physical disability or not, we all have those places where we're afraid or that are limiting or that become a challenge. We may not see them. So when we're in places of creating relationships, that's why I think both of us are saying it's not about disability, it's about creating that relationship.
Foremost.
Yeah.
So we have like another minute or two. So if anybody wants to take this chance and call in 919-518-9773, we're happy to hear from you, or you can put out another question. Karen says the experimentation, the self-awareness, and your connection are the things people love. You don't have to be perfect. Chris says, Barton, did your parents raise you to believe these things about yourself, or did you come to believe them on your own through your own life experiences?
I would say a bit of both. I believe that my parents did as much as possible to raise me with that. However, they have their own assumptions. They have their own beliefs about what was not possible, and I was the one that had to move beyond that.
So you're the perfect one to do this.
Yeah.
You're the perfect one to speak out for love. Perfect one. So tell everyone where they get your book.
Our book is available on Amazon or Barnes & Nobles and on our website as well.
InkandOils.com.
And okay, and then any final message, words of advice, anything, wisdom, pearls.
We hope you can take this and live your own life.
It's not about us. It's about recognizing the brilliance that is in yourself and acting on that brilliance.
Yes.
I'm writing the name of the book for the chat.
Yes.
Hold on a minute, everybody. Here it comes. Ink in the Wheels. Stories to Make Love Roll. Well, you have been a blessing to everyone tonight, and especially me, because I've wanted to do this for so long, and I just love the two of you so much, and you just have enriched.
Thank you. We love you too.
Thank you. You've enriched my life so very much. And I have to say, the other night when I went to their book launching, and I'm going to cry, I went over after they spoke, and there was a room full of people and all kinds of smiles on people's faces. I had an absolutely delightful time. And I walk over to Barton. Megan was busy on the stage, and I walked over, and the first thing Barton said to me was, "Happy birthday." So you're just treasures, just treasures. Thank you for just being here.
Thank you.
And
everyone out there, thank you so much for taking this journey with us tonight.
It's not about us. It's about recognizing the brilliance that is in yourself and acting on that brilliance.
Yes.
I'm writing the name of the book for the chat.
Yes.
Hold on a minute, everybody. Here it comes. Ink in the Wheels. Stories to Make Love Roll. Well, you have been a blessing to everyone tonight, and especially me, because I've wanted to do this for so long, and I just love the two of you so much, and you just have enriched.
Thank you. We love you too.
Thank you. You've enriched my life so very much. And I have to say, the other night when I went to their book launching, and I'm going to cry, I went over after they spoke, and there was a room full of people and all kinds of smiles on people's faces. I had an absolutely delightful time. And I walk over to Barton. Megan was busy taking care of a few things, and Barton was on the stage. And I walked over, and the first thing Barton said to me was, "Happy birthday." So you're just treasures, just treasures. Thank you so much for just being here.
Thank you.
And everyone out there, thank you so much for taking this journey with us tonight, and take their message and go out and do some great stuff with love, and just help people really understand what love is. Just, I mean, it's sometimes it's complicated, but just be it and show people what it's like, and use tonight as an example. Everywhere you go, every time, you need something sometimes, a quote to hang on a wall, an experience you've had, a walk on the beach, something. Let tonight be something that you take with you in your heart wherever you go, for whomever you're with. That will be our final legacy. That's the case. We'll be coming back next week. Just make it really. So thank you again, everyone. Thanks for being.